Long-term natural solutions to your ADHD. Is it possible? Here's what I discovered from using medication. And the result may surprise you. Hello and welcome back to ADHD Wellness. My name is Gaia, and this channel is all about long-term natural solutions to your ADHD. Now, if you think that's completely bonkers, this episode is for you. I'm going to be sharing my med journey with you, and this is so vital in me now living a life that's essentially free of ADHD symptoms. I don't suffer from them anymore. But a few years ago, before I was on meds, the reason why I got access to them is because I was struggling so hard. I was kind of at my end of I want to implement my coaching business. I know I can help so many people, but what I intend to do every day never gets done. And everything was so overwhelming. Yet I had done therapy. I had done the behavioral work. I'd hired a high-ticket coach to work through, even inner child work and shadow work and all of those things. But I was still struggling. I didn't know what was next. So meds seemed like the obvious answer. So I'm going to share with you that diagnosis process. If meds work for me, what I found, because I tried a few different ones, and how that led to me today, where I don't have ADHD symptoms anymore from a natural approach. And I'll also tell you this, at the time, I didn't know really what I wanted for my life. I had an idea, I want it to be blissful and more peace and calm and feeling grounded and intentional, but I didn't think it was possible. There's a lot of me that doubted that I could even have that. And I wasn't sure, is that what I want or is that what I should want? So if you're feeling any of those things, stick along for this episode. It's so powerful. It's powerful for me to share this with you. I know you'll pull a lot from it. Let's get started. A disclaimer, I'm not a doctor and do not pretend to be one. Please talk with your doctor about starting meds, stopping meds, changing meds, anything to do with medication and your ADHD diagnosis. So 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with ADHD and got access to meds, at least at the time of this recording. And I remember that day or evening so clearly when I suspected ADHD. My friend was over and we were building IKEA furniture because she is the IKEA furniture queen, and she had ADHD, she took meds, and we were just talking. She's like, have you ever, suspected that you may have ADHD? And I was not on TikTok, by the way, so I had not seen any of the reels or any of the memes or anything, but I always, I connected so well with her, and everything she would say, I was like, oh my God, that's me. And I thought it was just this anomaly, just this odd one out my entire life. And when we were talking, I was like, oh, wow, maybe I do have ADHD. And I think there was a small part of me that always suspected it throughout my life, but I never wanted to use a label because I'm like, I'm not going to use a label where people are really suffering and struggling, right? I'm not going to just use that like a throwaway term. Because I thought that although I was struggling, that everyone struggled as much as me. I thought life was really just this hard. And I thought I just had to work harder and do better, that I was just always lagging behind, and that was a fault of mine that I wasn't, working hard enough. Now, the reason that conversation that night was so potent was because I was struggling really, really hard and had come to a point of I don't think it should be this hard of a struggle anymore in life. At the time, I had done all the things. I think at that point, it was probably I was doing self-development my entire life, but about a year prior to that, I had really dove into more of the inner work and started to expand my horizons of what that actually meant. So I had hired a high-ticket coach that a couple months prior to work through a lot of mindset blocks, limiting beliefs, inner child work, shadow work. I had done therapy off and on before that. And I had done all the things. I had all the systems and strategies. And what I was really struggling with was implementing my coaching business and actually building it and growing it. Because I was working at a very low paying job. This was during COVID. And I was like, I've been trying for so many years to, have the money freedom, the time freedom, and really create impact in my life. I knew I was meant for so much more. I knew I had so much to share and to help others with. And yet I was constantly hitting, it was like going up against a brick wall again and again and again. Now I had all the classic ADHD symptoms, but that wasn't the driving force for me to get diagnosed and access to meds. I mean, I guess wasn't struggling. If you look on paper, I had so many systems in place that life I could manage quite well. And I had so much, discipline and willpower that I could push through a lot of stuff. But the biggest struggle was that with this business that I was trying to implement for, I don't know, it was probably like 4 or 5 years. It was never getting past that first stage. It was never making money. And I saw people, my peers, starting at the same time as me, after me, growing so much faster. And this isn't just about a business thing. It was the fact that, like, why is this so easy for them and they are just flowing with it and they find it so light and easy and easeful, I should say. And I struggled so much and would constantly burn out again and again and again. Like, I was constantly needing to use willpower and discipline to do the things I intended to do in my business. After an hour, I'd be like, I can't focus anymore. I had a plan for the week and then I would completely forget the plan, or I would get so overwhelmed I wouldn't implement the plan, or it became too much that I couldn't do it and I would burn out again and again. And it was at that point I realized it wasn't just me, that there could be something else, because I had done all the things, I was doing all the things, but maybe there was just something else. So I got diagnosed, and it was like 100%. The doctor's like, yeah, you 100% have ADHD. Do you want meds? I was like, yes, please. I've done all the things. Please give me meds. And so I got meds. Now, I'll add in that this low-paying job I was working and trying to build my own business, I had no health coverage. And the cost of meds, at least here, is quite high. And this is important because it was actually my saving grace. And meds worked for me. I actually ended up trying 3 different kinds. They all worked. And the reason being, I was trying to find a cheaper alternative. And because of that, I didn't take them every day. And I want to say, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one. Please talk with your doctor about any medication questions at all, about starting and stopping, all the things. But if I wasn't working, my part-time job, I was like, cool, I'm working my business today. I'm going to take a pill because I want to make this as productive as possible. And those days were. I remember working for like 4 focused hours in a row, getting so much done, and then still being able to get everything done at home, and then being able to go back and do more work. Like, that felt like I was Superwoman. Finally, this was what it felt like to be a neurotypical and get done what I intended to do. So this sounds so great. But I want to go back to what I said at the beginning, how I had, hired a high-ticket coach doing a lot of inner work, inner child, limiting belief work. And I think it was a year prior, I just started to dive into more of this inner self-development, which included some spirituality, a bit of astrology, manifestation. And prior to that, it was just, leadership type of development, self-development, communication skills, stuff more for the corporate world. I was working in corporate. And I say that because during that time, I was learning about me, about going inward. And the spirituality, the manifestation, the astrology, whether you believe that or not, helped me connect back to literally me. And I've always been a very, very self-aware person. I used to bodybuild for about 7 years, which got me very in touch with me physically. I could connect with my muscles so deeply. I could, that mind-body connection was very strong. I knew, it was like, I'm getting sick. It's going to be an easier workout. Or I knew when to take a rest day. I knew when to ease off. I was so in tune with me that when I took meds, I noticed really quick that it's like, I'm not me on meds. And I remember asking a friend who was on meds, I was like, do you not feel like you? And she's like, oh no, I totally feel like me. I still have my creative impulses. I still am like, my quirkiness is still there. She's like, maybe you need to try different meds. So that was another reason I tried different ones. I was like, no, I could still feel like there was something different in my brain, which yes, helped me focus, but it wasn't me. And I think of, I don't know, this could be lost on you, but I used to love the book series Animorphs when I was a kid. And part of this is that a slug would go into their brain and take over in a bad way. They're being controlled. And that's what I felt like. It felt manufactured, like a pill is. That's how I personally felt. And that was the analogy that came to my mind. I was like, this is working, but it's not me. And I had been so connected, or starting to get so connected with who I am and being so self-aware. I was like, I will never live my life every day like this. Yes, taking it now and then is helpful, but I even started to question if I wanted to do that. So I started a self-experiment, and majority of my life is about self-experimenting, which has gotten me to where I am today and to help you with all these things I've navigated and come to learn and figure out. So I would take a pill and the next day I would not. I was like, what if there's like a placebo effect? Because on that day, I would take a pill and focus and get so much done. The next day, I'm like, okay, there could be, little carryover, like remnants in my brain. But I just proved to myself that I can do this, that I can focus, I can get stuff done, I can do what I intended to do. So let's replicate that. It was literally giving me a model of how I wanted my day to be, of me doing it. Like, I have the model. I just proved to myself I can do it. Let's see if I can replicate it. And I would. Now, it wasn't like this all the time, but there was also days I would take meds that I would not have the focus I wanted. And this inner negative dialogue would continue, or I'd focus on the wrong things. But there was also days that I would focus and have a great intentional day that I wasn't on meds nor took meds the day before. And I'm sharing this with you because this built my hope that I could have intentional, focused days without medication, that I could do it on my own. And that, built to so much from that. But the hope, the tiny little bit of hope, was what I needed. When I searched for my diagnosis and got meds, I did not have that hope. I thought that was my only solution, and I needed to refine this hope. And that is everything. Even if the hope is so tiny, and that's what I really want you to take from this, that there is hope for you to have long-term solutions that are natural. They are available to you, but it starts with having that little bit of hope and belief. And if anything, let my story be that hope and belief for you. Because when I saw that in myself, I was like, I can do this. It wasn't like the next day everything changed. It was like, I'm magically healed. Not at all. But that hope grew. And it was my guiding light forward to be like, there's another way. And if I don't know what that way is, I'm going to find it. Because I did not know it. Literally, after I started to have those realizations, like, I don't want to be on meds forever. The cost, that was a big thing, prevented me from renewing my prescription. I was like, okay, I'm not going to renew this. The cost is a big barrier. Plus, I've just proved to myself I can have focus days. Let's see how we can continue to recreate this. And that started to lead another about 2-year experiment on myself of how can I make this work. Man, those 2 years of self-experimenting have been a wild ride. There's been ups and downs of me thriving and then completely going the opposite direction, and then just managing and then thriving, and now at a place where I say I don't have ADHD symptoms. I do not struggle from them anymore. And this is what I'm showing you on my channel, what I share and show clients how to do my one-to-one coaching and in my programs. Because there is other ways for you that aren't just hacks and tips and strategies, but actual solutions that are long-term. That you don't need to just go day by day. It doesn't need to be a continual struggle. That life can be easeful, that life can be blissful and peace and calm because I'm living it. So take that as your little bit of hope, your little bit of a belief that that's available to you. And as I share that, I just think back on this past weekend. It was actually my birthday weekend. And oh my God, everyone asks like, how was your birthday? I'm like, oh, best birthday ever, like every birthday. Like, what do you do? I'm like, nothing. And it was completely guilt-free. And not just because it was my birthday, but I was like, you know what? I just want to watch a movie in the afternoon because I want to. And then I'm like, I want to just dance and feel good and connect with my body. I want to go out with a friend. I want to clean my home because that feels good. But I'm going to stop when I want to stop. And then I'm like, maybe I'll read a book for a little bit. I don't feel like doing any work on the weekend. Everything was with so much intention, without any guilt, where I could start and stop it whenever I wanted. And I never had that before. It would just be like, oh my God, I'm cleaning. I'm going to clean everything and hyper focus on it. Or I'm going to avoid clean for like months and months and months. My life isn't like that anymore. It's now with so much intention. And know this is available to you. And if you desire this for your life, one-to-one coaching could be the perfect fit for you. So I do have a few spots available. You can use the application below to apply. If you have questions on working one-to-one with me, just send me a DM on Instagram, also linked below. Because this is where we go deep into your life. It's not just more hacks and strategies that you've learned maybe from other coaches or online. We get to the root of what's exacerbating your symptoms. What is making them such a struggle again and again every single day? And when we get to the root of it, we can heal the root. We can change that. And that's going to give you that long-term solution. So yeah, I take inventory of your entire life and your past so we can change those things that are making life feel like such a struggle today. Because I want you to have such an easeful, intentional, blissful life like I'm living now. So apply below if you feel called, but you definitely need to grab your dopamine detox training, also linked below. It's how to start your day with focus and clarity. I do it every day. It is amazing. It works. Plus, by grabbing that, you also get access to my email community, which means you get promos, discounts, intro offers before I offer to anyone else, and access to my free weekly show and live Q&A, which you definitely need to be on. If you have any questions, hit me up on Instagram or comment below, and make sure, yes, you subscribe. It's so important. It's free to do for you, but it helps me reach other ADHDers like yourself who need to hear this story or other content. Thank you for being here. I'll see you next week. Goodbye.